Hi, welcome to Module 12. This has to do with two of the 8 most impressionable moments in a house using feng shui, or two of the 8 tests that need to be passed when you're trying to sell a house. They are the foyer and the room of first impression. Now, the foyer, of course, is the first time they've actually been able to come in and take a look, if we're talking about a visitor. With respect to the chi that you have attracted from the outside and done a really good job with the curve uphill, we want to make sure we keep this going. We want to make sure that it gets to all parts of the house. We want to make sure it comes in and stays a while. And so it's a very important part of the whole procedure to making sure that your home or your business really has a great effect. Now, if you look at these two pictures, you can see that in both cases they're uncrowded. We don't have a lot of clutter. The color schemes are pretty good. We've taken away some of the sharp corners. So it's important to set that first impression and making sure it feels comfortable, attractive, in contrast, and every other little thing that we're going to talk about in the next few moments. The foyer was a great place to put a mirror. And I like putting a mirror in here for several reasons, but one of them is that the dominant element often in the foyer is going to be water. That is when the front entrance, the front door is actually in the middle of the front of the house in Korea. So of course we have several ways to bring the water into this particular part of the house, but one of them is a mirror, which is a very easy way to do it. But you want to make sure you put it off to the side, left or right side. Now in that top picture, we really didn't have a choice to put it to the another side. That had to be the side we put it on. And that's fine. We want to put it off to the side. We never want to put it in front of the door because the energy would hit the mirror, and move it right back outside. So the mirror needs to be off to the left or to the right. In some cases, you don't have many choices. Now, if you look at the one with the checkered pattern, we have, again, the mirror off here. But we want to bring the water element into that area, and this does it very well. But another thing about the mirror is it actually will reflect natural light. And it actually starts to move the energy that we have coming in the front door off into more of a meandering pattern. We want to make sure that the foyer is, of course, easy to move through and no clutter. We don't want to ever give that impression to any visitor. And we want to make sure that if the first thing that they notice is the back of the house, that we start to get it into what I call the bumper pool effect. Okay? And smell, as you're going to find out, is very important here. We want to make sure that the smell or the aroma is a little more yang at this point, and that is very subtle. Again, the mirror equals water. And the reflection of sunlight is a very, very positive aspect of this if you situate it correctly. You can see that in these cases, we're getting a nice reflection of the natural light, which lightens up the foyer, lightens up the house, and makes it a more welcoming environment for people. The picture down at the bottom on the right shows a broken mirror effect. And some people like using that type of look, and it is very bad feng shui. It cuts your body up into different pieces. and gives you somewhat of a health situation that you might need to counteract. So try not to use mirrors that are in broken patterns or are not solid. A water fountain certainly could be used in the foyer. This is not for everybody. I understand that, especially if you're gone for long periods of time. You have to go to work, but it does give a great sound, which is a great effect when you're coming home or when your visitors come in. So it is something that is very advantageous if you can take care of it without it being a problem. Even if you have to turn it off before you go to work, that is fine. Turn it on when you get back home. It's got a great calming effect to it. Now the colors for the foyer, if it's in the career area, the dominant element again is water. The colors are blue and black. Maybe a light blue might work here because of the reflective nature of it, but I usually don't use on the walls a particular watery color. Now metal promotes water, if you remember, with respect to the different cycles of the 5 elements. So metal color works very well here, but it needs to be light and reflective, like a light gray, like a possible white, or a light gold. But please don't make it dark. You don't want it to be dark and uncomfortable walking in. You want it to be light and airy and very comfortable. Now the 5 senses in the whole house are important, and certainly they're very important for that first impression in the foyer. That yang smell, which we'll be talking about, is a very important idea, but it should be very subtle and very recognizable. For example, I like using cinnamon. It's a very good place for a babbling fountain, very peaceful sound. I've had some clients that just love that, and it helped them sell their houses, and they have now continued that with their next one. The temperature is also important, the feel. And if it's in the middle of the summer, you need to make sure it's nice and cool and refreshing when they walk in, or when you walk in. And then if it's the winter and it's cold outside, you want to make sure that the heat is at a nice temperature also, so that again, you feel a lot better and more refreshed when you walk in. If you're selling a house, I like using peppermint candies up at the front because it's again a very yang snack, and it actually increases a person's focus. So hopefully they'll take one and they'll become even more focused when they start eating that particular treat. A gorgeous, colorful painting strategically placed here can draw in the chi and a visitor. So I really like using a beautiful, colorful painting in this area. Now, straight in front of the door is a great place to have it if you have a wall there, but it can be off to the side too. Again, a mirror off the side brings in more of the outside light and expands the area and makes it look more spacious. Now, the room of first impression is very, very pivotal because you're showing them how you're maintaining things in a lot of cases. And it isn't a great way to actually lead people on a tour or to lead the chi and the energy throughout the house. It needs to be balanced. It needs to be harmonious. You need to take into account the 5 elements in this room right away, as you do, of course, in the foyer, but you've got to give them the right feel. It sets the tone. And again, if we do our job right, we're directing the incoming chi. And always one of your tasks with respect to chi and energy is to make sure that it gets to all parts of the home. If a person's focus is led to the back, we have a problem there. We need to get it into a bumper pool effect immediately. We need to get it to make sure that it looks to the left, looks to the right, fills in the energy to the left and to the right. If we're not doing that right away, we're going to have parts of the house that are not going to feel correct. Now this room, a first impression, will be in one of three places. It'll be to the left, to the right, or straight ahead. Rooms on the left and the right, we must draw their attention by using focal points and yang colors. And we covered stuff like this already for you, but we're going to do it again. But it must be noticed. A person walking in the door should notice the room to the left and the room to the right immediately. They shouldn't lose their focus at this point. Now, if there is a room straight ahead that is the first major attraction, we're going to find out they're going to not notice the left and the right. And this happens with our energy also. So we have to pay special attention what the first thing that a visitor notices when they walk in that front door. So focal points are very pivotal here. Again, it's the first thing you notice when entering a room. There are a lot of natural focal points. Fireplace, windows, architectural features, and of course a view. You can build furniture around a natural focal point. And you need to get very good at creating focal points when one does not exist, especially in the room of first impression. So creating a focal point can be done, again, these ways. You can use furniture. The largest piece of furniture often is the focal point when you walk into a room. When you walk into a bedroom, it's of course the bed. You walk into the dining room, you really better make it the table and not a hutch. And you want to make sure in that first room of impression that you make sure that it notices the thing that is the most important. Paint can do this by just painting a single wall, for example. Lighting certainly does it also. Again, it draws attention. Light, the first thing you notice. And certainly artwork, colorful paintings are something that I use considerably to make sure that that's the first thing that they notice when they walk into that room. So in summary, the first glimpses of the inside has to be really good. You've got to make sure that it really has stoked their enthusiasm, their interest, and their curiosity. You're doing the same thing for the chi. You want to make sure that it comes off as comfortable and secure for the energy to move throughout the house. Always think of the importance of drawing the chi, drawing the visitor into the house, and it'll really be very helpful to you. And please don't forget, this is also always the last glimpse, whether it's a buyer leaving or whether it's yourself leaving to go to work.